Watch out for bribes and price controls. This is Dr. David D. Shine for Saving America. Thanks for joining us today. And in this special episode, we talk about America's runaway inflation and the bad things that the United States government might do instead of doing the right things in the so-called cover story for fixing inflation. So as I predicted, and sorry to be bragging, the new official inflation rate is 8.5%. Again, I predicted that it was going to continue to increase, and it did, unlike some of the clowns in Washington who said, oh, this is a temporary situation, will go back down. And remember, the real inflation rate is probably more than 20% for most Americans. But again, the economists measure this, at least economists paid by the federal government, measure this in a peculiar manner to produce this relatively low number. But still, that official inflation number is the highest since 1981, which President Reagan inherited from the incompetent Jimmy Carter administration. And again, a lot of parallels between Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. The exception being that Carter, I think, was genuinely a decent human being. And I would never confuse Biden with a decent human being. I don't think he has any ethics. I don't think he's a legitimate smart person. I don't think he's a legitimate leader. And he has a very checkered past, which somehow the media has worked at burying for I still don't know what reason, because they've certainly not got anything that they wanted out of this. But in any event, getting back to the main story here, what are the feds going to do? Well, let's take a look at a few things here. One, why send gas tax refund checks to people? Would it not make more sense to produce more gas and lower the price and allow the market to work? Hey, it's a capitalist country. Two, why inflate the national debt even further? This is the main cause of the current inflation. Nobody in Washington seems to be admitting the obvious. If you stop printing money, you will reduce the inflation rate. That's how it works, folks. It's not complicated, and that central bank situation is pretty consistent. So let's stop printing money now, and let's balance the federal government budget now. Number three, oddity of oddities. Why extend the student loan holiday to August? They've extended it over about a 2-year period now. And despite their cover stories, this is a bald bribe to try and get younger people to vote for Democrats. It's not anything else. It's quite bare and it's quite obvious. But here's the problem. The people with the most federal debt statistically are law graduates and medical graduates, right? We're giving bennies to lawyers and doctors. Does this make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I speak as someone who has paid all of my student loans and have helped my children get through college, but they have also borrowed money, and I think they should pay back the money that they borrowed. I think that's only fair. But it's interesting to see what the federal government is doing, because remember, when they delay those student loan payments, that increases the federal loan debt and the federal national debt. So it's not free money. And then number four, I fear that price controls are on the horizon. Price controls have never worked. Let's look at a couple historical examples. President Roosevelt, during the Great Depression, actually prolonged the Depression when he was claiming it was fair competition to introduce price controls back in the 1930s. Another loser, President Nixon, tried again in 1971 to fix prices, and it failed again. And we see all over the world commie administrations, Cuba, Venezuela, and tending these days in Russia, to over and over again manage the market and to try to adjust things without allowing the capitalist market structure to work. Is it a perfect structure? Heck no. But does it work? Yes, in general, it works. So let's get back to capitalism, which after all is about our only significant advantage over the rest of the world. And it's something that has worked, generally speaking, when the government gets out of the way and lets it work. And we do not have an unregulated capitalist system. We have a regulated system. And I'd like to see our regulators do a better job while at the same time not interfering in the market mechanism itself. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Saving America. This is Dr. David D. Shine. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.